G'day folks, welcome to Dirtfood, our vegetable garden diary, and this is the first one for 2019. So welcome, and look, I hope you had a great Christmas. If you had holidays, great holidays, and if you love super hot weather, I hope you're having a great time. You would be. So for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, I know you guys are getting really caned by the cold right now. Well, trust me, it's anything but cold here. We've had a scorcher so far, and we're only halfway through summer. I heard a winemaker from not far up the road here saying that in the last month, I think they've had something like 25 days over 35 degrees. And I know, we've probably had 2 weeks at least that have been, like 40 degrees every day. And we've had many days super hot in that zone, 43, 44 degrees. So this has been probably the hottest summer I can remember here. And reading the Facebook groups and whatnot, I know a lot of people kind of are stressing over their garden and how, what they can do to kind of protect their plants from the heat. We've done very little, I have to say. We tend not to micromanage, and we I don't know, set things up and let them work. I don't know if you can see the sweat here. It's hot already. Basically, today is a follow-up from the last episode, which was just 3 things you can do to get growing veggies right now. And thanks so much for your response too. I had some fantastic comments, and that was really appreciated. This is kind of the follow-up. 5 must-have summer veg. Now, they're not the only summer veg, of course, but they're things that we grow every year, things that I love, things that we've used in the cafe, things that we use at home. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. But I'll also show you around. A lot's kind of happened it's probably been 3 or 4 weeks since I last posted. So I'll kind of do a bit of a recap. It is a diary after all, and I want to kind of capture what's been going on. In the midst of all that heat, we've got our winter veg seedlings planted, Brussels sprouts and some kale and celeriac and all sorts of stuff. I'll just give you a quick little recap on everything that's been happening. All right, 5 must-have veggies. Number 1, this is in no order, by the way. Let me just make that clear. Number 1, zucchinis. Look, these things are great, prolific. They grow heaps. There's a few things about zucchinis that I really like. One is that they're kind of flavor neutral. So you can use them in savory stuff. You can use them in desserts. Cakes and so on. You can grate them and, smuggle them into your kids' food if they're not into that. So they're versatile, they're prolific, so they kind of need to be versatile because you get a lot of them. And they don't take up a lot of space, they don't take a lot of, micromanaging, and they're great. So zucchinis, big fan of zucchinis. We start our zucchinis as seedlings. We plant the seeds into our little seed blocks and then transplant. You can plant them direct. We've had problems in the past with pests, little woodlice and so on, kind of munching away at the seedlings. So we find it easier to do it, that way, planted in seed blocks and plant them out. But you can just plant them in the garden and, and go for it. So, number 1, zucchinis. All right, number 2, beans. Now, at the moment this year, we've got borlotti beans in. There's a few things I like about them. I mean, nutritionally, beans are a must-have. So, if you can grow some kind of legume, I think that's important. Borlotti beans, flavor out of the garden, unbelievable. Now, some of you might be thinking, if you're not bean fans, you might be thinking, really? You know, like, surely a bean out of the garden isn't going to be one of those real breakout flavour type things. I'm telling you, there's something about a borlotti bean straight from the garden. It just tastes fantastic. I suspect maybe it's a umami thing, or it's not like the flavour is stronger, but it just, I don't know, it's better. And honestly, fantastic. And it probably ranks for me as, if not the best tasting garden vegetable, like would be up there in the top 2 or 3. Absolutely. So I'm stoked that we've got them this year. But look, if it's not borlotti beans, you know, green beans, if it has to be, we've got snake beans as well. But any kind of bean is a must-have for summer. All right, number 3, greens. Now, at the moment, our silver beet is doing fantastically well. Now, I talked about how hot it's been, like really hot. And some of the outer leaves, you know, got scorched, and, you know, we would cut them off. But silver beet, when the time comes and you pull them up, and you'll see that they grow really deep, long roots. They're related to beetroot. So, you know, they've got the whole big bulbous root thing down. and they do. They grow deep, really good solid root system. I guess it's protected from the heat down there. So, and they can last a long time. Beet or some kind of greens, but silver beet works just super well. That's number 3. Okay, number 4, corn. Yeah, you know corn. You know, last time you had your can of Coke, or I don't know, corn. It's used for everything in ingenious ways. Some good, some bad, I suppose. But corn, I don't grow it for the ingenious uses. I just grow it to eat it. But corn. A few things about corn. For us here, it's definitely just a summer thing. Succession, you know, when it's ready to pick, it's kind of ready to pick. So the window is fairly small. You can't leave it out there and pick it over a long period of time. So, you know, it's good to plant in succession. So we did 2 succession this year. We had a 2 or 3 week break and then planted our second block. Probably next year, you know, Wendy was saying we'll probably split it into 4 or more in smaller blocks. So, you know, just keep that in mind. You plant it direct, so it's easy. You plant direct, and it's pretty reliable growing. Pollination is by wind. It's not by bees. And we had patchy pollination this year. Every one of those little silks that grows out of the top is connected to a kernel. So the pollen kind of just wafts down from the top onto the silk. So yeah, we had pretty good pollination, but not perfect. Maybe next year we might run and just give them all a little bit of a bump every so often, just to help them along. But I really, like I say, we're not micromanagers, and I don't want to get into that too much. But and look, generally the flavour of corn is great. You've got huge varieties, you know, that you can do, so you don't have to get just the super sweet, less flavour. You can get ones that maybe are less sweet but really good corn flavour, somewhere in between even. So there's all sorts of corn you can do. But a couple of things: plant in a block. Don't plant just, I don't know, randomly around the place. They've got to be in a block so that pollination happens. And don't cross-pollinate, and by that I mean don't plant any more than one variety, because they will cross-pollinate and then they'll be terrible. So, but that's corn. All right, next one, potatoes. Potatoes, again, super easy to plant. You need seed potatoes, not potatoes that you buy at the store. They've got to be potatoes that are have been grown disease-free and are ready to be planted for seed, but they're easy to find. And plant them deep. We plant them in a trench, and then we mound that trench up as they start growing to make them deeper and deeper. The potatoes live in the ground. Again, you don't have to do much for them. and then we kind of pick them as we need them up until they start sprouting. So we're starting to pick now in the middle of summer, and we've just started picking now, and that'll be fine for a while. I don't know how long until we have to pull them all up, but the longer you can leave them out in the ground, we find the better. They're a little difficult to store unless you can get the moisture right. But having them out, just in the garden and getting them when you need them, that's fantastic. Like say a King Edward potato with the little pink blushes, if you can get those, top of the tree, they taste fantastic. But there's a whole heap of potatoes that are fantastic flavour-wise. That's potatoes. Now, if my maths is any good, I think that's probably 5. But I think I've missed probably the one must-have summer veg that everyone associates with summer, that pretty much everyone grows or wants to grow if they don't grow. And I think I'd be, damaged if I didn't mention it. So maybe it's even outside of the 5, because it's just, of course, you're going to grow tomatoes. And why not? Great to eat as they are, especially since, commercial agriculture has done such a great job of breeding all the flavour and quality and texture and everything out of tomatoes. Growing them at home is about the only way to make sure you get, just that beautiful tomato flavour. Sweet. It's all good. I don't need to tell you about tomatoes, you know already. But passata, all sorts of stuff. Tomatoes are great. So they're obviously a must-have. I'm inside our fruit fly net here. We get fruit fly from time to time, not all the time, not every year, and probably not this year because it's been so damn hot. But often we can do, and so it's a simple structure. We use star pickets with a, I guess it's a 32mm water pipe, a thick water pipe of a set length, pushed down over the star post, arced over the top with a fruit fly net over that, and then pegged down really well. Any fruit fly protection has got to be sealed as much as you possibly can, because they will get in. So we use bricks and anything that we've got, but we really make it as impenetrable as we can. Pollination for the tomatoes is fine in this enclosure, but this is what we do. And look, they're doing fine. We started from a fairly impoverished base this year, as you would have seen, so our soil is not great, but we're building that up. But look, they're doing fine. We've just started picking, and anyhow, tomatoes. Thanks for watching. That's another episode done. I think next time I'm going to do, as I've just done summer veg now, 5 must-have summer veg. Well, maybe I'll do, don't know what number, but some must-have winter veg, because we've just planted our winter seedlings. So now's probably a good time to talk about that, so that if you want to get started on your own, especially if you live in the same kind of area we do, then now's the time. Even though it seems bizarre to even think about growing winter veg when it's been so ridiculously hot. Fact is, if we don't get them in now by middle of January, for some things will be too late. Brussels sprouts, they won't get enough time in the ground to build up enough size to start giving us anything. So timing is a big deal, and that's something that if you help me with your comments to convince Wendy to talk about timing and planning, she is the planner, absolutely, then we can get her to talk about that, because the timing and the sequencing of all these things is a super big deal. Anyway, we'll come to that some other time. Thanks for watching. Subscribe on YouTube if you want to make sure you get this. Have I said that? Probably next time. See ya.